What's going on, guys? Havoc, Quebec? So we're starting this with just a clip of the end of a game of a lesson learned for me. It's one of the most boring games I've ever played. As you see, I have 0 kills with 3 people left. I've been trying to fight that guy a little bit from a distance, and I couldn't really do it, and it had been so long that he kind of forgot I was there. So in the game, a couple games before this one specifically, I was in the opposite position that I'm going to be in right here when I win this. And so this is just what I call a lesson learned, and something that I've really tried to do. I'm pretty sure he's in there, but I'm not sure. So something that I've been trying to do to really step my game up when I'm playing is really trying to look critically at my own decisions and say, hey, maybe that's not the right decision. So I threw this stun, and I was pushing him, and I went, no, you know what? I remember where I was in this situation just a couple games ago, and the reason I lost was because this guy did it to me. He stayed on the rock and waited for me to push out of the circle. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do that to this guy here. Now I had to get away for a second. I was missing my shots. And he was hitting me a little bit. So you duck away for a second, let him think you're going to heal, and then you pop back up and you get him. And I mean, I was still red at the end. And so it wasn't the best play, but that was definitely a lesson learned on my part. And I basically turned my loss a few games previous into a win in that scenario right there. Now, also, the funny part was the loss was to a guy who was a level 700, level 6 or 700 max prestige was the guy that beat me the games before this, and I got really mad and I screamed, and apparently he didn't hear me, and because he sent me a message that said, good game. I saw you tearing people up kind of a thing. So that game that I just won, I don't know who that guy was. But like I said, I had that situation. I had the rock. I had the advantage, and I went to push him, even though I didn't stun him, and I had an empty clip of 19, which, of course, are mistakes. By the way, love this weapon charm on here, huh? That little frag hanging there. But, you look back at it, and you see where it was there, and you're like, yeah, you shouldn't have pushed. But in that moment, I thought it was the right play. And like I said, I second-guessed myself, so I backed off and took the higher position, center position of the circle, basically, on the rock, and waited for him to come to me, because he had no cover, and I had the cover, and that's the proper play. I'm all about being aggressive and playing aggressively, and that's what this whole last few weeks for me has been about. However, in that situation, it's the wrong play to play that aggressively, because I lose my advantage when I push him, because he has to come, the circle's at his back, and so anyway, lesson learned for me. So this game here is a nice win. I'm kind of here by Asylum, so I don't even really end up going too many places. But the cool thing about this one was I had just been saying previous to this to my friend that I never have level 3 armor. And I don't know what it is, but it seems like I never have a level 3 armor at the end of the game. And level 3 is pretty critical in those final few circles because everybody's using snipers. And if you don't have a level 3, then you're dead from a headshot. Unless you have a trauma kit and it's not a paladin. But even if you have a trauma kit and only a 2 armor, I'm pretty sure a paladin can still kill you through that. So it's really unfortunate. And I just realized, like, I never end up with level 3 armors. And, honestly, I think it's because of my mid-game strategy. I think it's my mid and late game strategy. My mid-game strategy, I'm not going searching for gunfights in the mid-game. I'm just trying to play it as stealthy as I can, and not take any fights that I know I can't win, or take any fights where I know I don't have at least a decent chance. And so I try to, avoid the fights, not as much as possible, but I definitely try to stay a little bit more out of the action during the mid-game. And then the final game, I really don't believe in looting in any of the last few circles. Like, in a solo game, once there's 10 people left, there's no excuse to be looting in a bag. Unless, I guess I shouldn't say there's no excuse. So the only situation in which you should be looting in a bag is if for some reason you don't have any meds, or you're about to run out of ammo. And then a lesser situation is if you don't have any equipment, like you don't have anything to throw, like a stun or a frag or a grapple or something like that. If you don't have anything like that, then occasionally I'll get in a bag. But, I mean, once it gets to top 7, I'm not getting in a bag. No chance. So a lot of those final guys are the ones that have those 3 armors. So trying to end up with a 3 armor, you have to take a lot of fights earlier on, or you have to take a lot of, find like some supply crates and stuff to drop in the middle, and I just don't play that way. So I don't usually end up with level 3. So that's what this one is actually I do find a level 3, and I end up taking it. And it's the same in this one, I've been getting a lot more wins recently. Look at that, huh? All I did was hear the footsteps, turn 90 degrees, light them up. And that's why I didn't get into the box right away. You know, you definitely don't want to hop in the box right away. When you unlock a zombie box like that, definitely don't want to hop in there right away. You want to take as much time as you can to look around, and that's why. Because if I just hopped in that box, he was rolling up on me to light me up. And even then, he saw me, and I didn't see him at first. I had to turn 90 degrees, and he still lit me up to half health. So, glad I did that. And again, here, you know, a lot of these games, I'm just kind of going for challenges for the mystery boxes. It's just something to do through the early to mid game, and it's a chance to get a good weapon. And so, yeah, and plus I'm usually going for like the operator mod challenge where you have to get 2 kills with an operator mod weapon, and you know you can get those out of the box. It's far less common than getting them out of an actual crate that drops from the plane, but those are always hot. You know, trying to drive around in a car and locate one of those crates and just hop in and get in and out. It's risky, so I don't tend to do that either. But basically, this last couple weeks has just been all about playing with the submachine gun and playing more aggressively and trying to, you know, playing more aggressively, not like taking every gunfight I can, like I said earlier, but being fairly selective. I would say I probably take about 3 out of 4 gunfights I probably take, and then 1 out of 4 I let them go because I don't think, like, I don't have the advantage. Like, I don't think I can do enough damage to them before they can get away from me, or they have some sort of weapon that I can't get up on them. But it's all about the submachine gun in Blackout, unless you really have a much slower playstyle, which is why I used to play that with the assault rifles. But really the downside to that is if anyone gets close to you and you have an assault rifle out, or you're trying to use an assault rifle, I mean, I don't know, assault rifles are kind of mid-range, so like if you're trying to get anyone closer to you than 50 to 75 feet, or you're trying to get anyone further away from you, then I probably didn't need to use the dead silence because he's got a bunch of zombie action going on, but it just helps to sneak up. Yeah, see, now I know he's down there. No idea. I missed all my shots after a second there, but luckily he wasn't too good. But so if you're playing with an assault rifle, you know, you go, I don't know, 50 to 75 feet. Anything closer than that is going to be a little bit of a challenge unless you're extremely accurate and you hit every shot. And, you know, I'm not that. I have, you know, 500 hours in Blackout, and I'm not that accurate to use an assault rifle at close range. But then anything above, like, you know, 250, 300 feet, like 100 yards, 100 meters, that's also can be pretty difficult. You have to shoot single shots, and a lot of the 5.56 rifles don't really do much from that range, unless you're talking about the ABR, which is a little bit different, or maybe the Swordfish. But like any of the ones that I like, the autos, you know, Galil, SWAT, ICR, any of those, you're really going to struggle to get guys at that range. So it's kind of interesting to know how limited you are with an assault rifle from about 50 feet to, you know, 200-300 feet. So anything beyond that, you're going to get sniped unless you're a real laser shot. Anything closer than that, you're just going to get torn up by a submachine gun, like you're not even doing anything. And so it's really been all about the switch to submachine guns for me, and that's really what's changed my whole gameplay into something that's not recognizable from what it was before. And that's because when you have a submachine gun, you know, it's kind of anything closer than 100 feet. So you have to get up within 100 feet of people before you can be effective. So if you're not up within 100 feet of their face, you're not going to do anything to them. And the problem with that is that you have to play a different play style. You have to play a style that allows you to close the gap on guys who are shooting at you and want to kill you. And that's pretty critical. Really, timing is critical in here. So a lot of times you start shooting in a gunfight and you shoot a couple rounds and you hit a guy or whatever, and then you only have a split second to make the decision on whether you're going to push him or whether you're going to kind of disengage and put some distance between you and him. And, you know, with an assault rifle, you always want to put a little bit more distance, unless you're pretty far anyway, in which case you want cover. But with assault rifle, it's all about, you know, you engage a guy and you don't kill him right away with the first couple shots. You really have to make sure you're at cover and make sure you're reloaded and make sure that you're in a good position to hit him and keep doing that. And, you know, kind of make sure you're hidden well and that you can hit the shots when they pop back up. And it's pretty much the opposite with submachine guns. With submachine guns, as soon as someone engages you, generally I engage if I know I can get them at least halfway dead before they can shoot me. But like if I'm out somewhere and someone engages me, really the only thing I do is I push them immediately. I mean, obviously within reason. You know, when they say that to you, they say that to you, when they shoot you and they start tagging you and you want to push them immediately, that doesn't mean if you're out in the open and there's no cover, you just bum rush straight at them. But generally, that's pretty much what I do. You have to be smart about it, but you pretty much have to push into their face, and generally they're not expecting that. So, I mean, if you tag them and they tag you a little bit and you just push right into them, they're not going to expect that. And so generally, I was doing all submachine guns for a little while and trying to get in more fights, and it really trained up my aim really quickly. I spent 15 days of playtime playing really slow and passively, and you just don't take a lot of fights when you do that, and it doesn't give you a lot of time to practice your aim. So, as much as I use assault rifles, I bet I'm almost as good now with submachine guns as I was with assault rifles. It took me 15 days to get where I am with assault rifles, and it took me 5 or 6 days to get where I am with submachine guns, and I bet I'm as good now with submachine guns as I am with rifles. So it's really just more a testament to, like, not playing an ultra passive game where you never encounter anybody. I mean, like, even here, this is a slow game. 3 kills with 16 left. Like, that's real slow. Now here, I could not tell where he was based on the sound. I came from, I mentioned this in my last video or 2 videos ago when they were talking about the 3D audio on the PlayStation. I, for a long time, had a Turtle Beach, and they had a brand called the DX12, which was just the X12 headset, which was their very, very basic, $50 to $60 Turtle Beach with the long 20-foot cord, and just their very basic Turtle Beach. But it had a DSS unit on it, which was a Dolby simulated surround unit, which was a tiny little box about the size of a pack of gum, and it was an optical connection, so you'd run the optical from the console into that, and then you'd run USB power to that, and then you'd run the headset out of that, and it was a Dolby simulated surround. And still to this day, it is the most frighteningly lifelike, realistic sound I've ever heard. And the edge that it gave me in Call of Duty was completely unparalleled, and I ended up switching to a much nicer set of headphones, and I can't use the Dolby Surround anymore. So I switched to the Dolby Atmos, and it is just not even close, really. I mean, I've gotten used to it. I've been playing with it for about a year. But if I had to grade it, I would say the Dolby Atmos is about a 6 out of 10, and that old surround sound's like a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. I mean, it was absolutely scary how precise you could be with the footsteps, and there's some issues with the Dolby. There's some issues resolving front versus rear sounds, so sometimes it's harder to tell if the sound's coming from in front of you or behind you, which is one of the real issues with the surround sound. It had a real presence and a real, like, complete presence of sound where you could tell absolutely, unequivocally exactly where something was in any space, whether that was 10 feet in front of you, 40 feet in front of you. I mean, obviously within range, and you could tell exactly. And so yeah, anyway, that's what was happening there. But the thing is, after being so hyper aggressive with the submachine guns, I realized basically there becomes a hole in your game where if you're in that sort of dead zone that I talked about, like submachine guns are basically closer than 100 feet, and assault rifles work about 50 to 75 feet out to a couple hundred feet. So if you're in that dead zone between about 100 feet and 300 feet, you really, if all you have is submachine guns, you can't do anything in that range. And so I experimented around with the GKS a little bit, which kind of worked. I hate that gun now. The way I play now, it's not the right gun. It's just too slow. It shoots too slow, and you get absolutely wrecked in close range. And so, yeah, this is terrible, huh? Couldn't even finish him off. This is so stupid. So I should have taken that fight. But see, that's about the maximum range that I would say I'm comfortable with an assault rifle with. I can hit guys at much further ranges than that, for sure. I can tap guys if they're running away from me and all that kind of stuff. But if we're talking about a gunfight where I'm shooting at them, they're shooting at me, I really wouldn't be comfortable taking gunfights too much further out than that. And the reason for that is because it's not a guaranteed. I mean, that's like sniper range already, and it's just not a guaranteed. So basically what I've progressed to is initially I was carrying a sniper along with the submachine gun, but then what I realized is that puts even more of a dead zone because the sniper only works about 150 to 200 feet or more, and then the submachine gun only works about 100 feet, so it gives you about this dead zone of at least 100 feet. 30, 40 meters of dead zone where you just can't engage somebody. And so then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to assault rifles. So I started carrying like that right there. That's tough range for a submachine gun. because he was weakened, I was able to do that, but that's about as far as I'll go submachine gun wise and actually be hitting somebody. So now what I've progressed to is carrying an assault rifle and a submachine gun, and I pretty much, a few of these wins, sometimes I get on a roll with the assault rifles, and it just sort of, I don't know what it is, it's just like I don't switch off of it, and it's just, that's kind of how this game goes. So as I'm sitting here playing this game, it's just like I'm kind of, yeah, see, I saw him. I know he saw me. That's crazy, huh? He's shooting these mesh mines at me, and right there, that's what I'm saying. Right there, I'm like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to get him. Luckily, he pushed at me a little bit. But in some games like this, I'm yeah, pretty nuts, right? I just walked right into that. Anyway, so there's this range where the assault rifle and the submachine gun kind of overlap. You pretty much have to have that overlap, in my opinion, in order to be effective. So I'll carry a assault rifle, and then I realized there's a good chance for stealth, because if I use a silenced assault rifle, that does get the range down a little bit, but that also makes it so that, I'm a little more stealthy, and it's just it's nice. It's a good mix for me. So that's what I've been using is assault rifles. And see here, I'm basically misplacing my own rule right here, where I said you shouldn't be looting, and these are, sometimes it happens, but really that's foolish. It's just absolutely foolish to do that. And especially because, I couldn't even get my armor fully back up, and I had no plates, whatever, so that was kind of foolish. But what I was getting at is, like, some games I'm just sort of feeling it with the assault rifle, and I just kind of don't end up switching back to the submachine gun. Like, I already have, probably 3 kills with the submachine gun already, but I don't end up switching back to it, because it's just like, at the end I do, but it's just, sometimes I'm just feeling it with the assault rifle, and I just sort of stay with that. And especially with the SWAT, that was my main assault rifle after a while anyway, so that's what I'd gotten used to using. And, it works well. It's just, it's not the best for, like, these challenging situations where you're just challenging guys. So what you'll see here is the way I kind of have to play with a assault rifle, and this is why I don't really like playing with them as much. And I always carry one, and I always use one every game, but for the situations I use it, it's not really, like, I'm not running around using it all the time. I've said this before, but if you carry both, if you're running around out in the open and you're, like, going from one area to another, if you have your submachine gun out, if someone surprises you and they end up being really close to you, or they dead silence, or they come up on a rock, or you happen to cross somebody, it's easy to just light them up. And if they're at some kind of range, it's still, see, like this, see how bad my shots are from this range? Like, that's about as, again, that's about as far as I'm comfortable getting in a gunfight with a guy, which is why I ran, because he's running at me. So I'm like, yeah, if he's going to be shooting at me, I'm not comfortable enough to sit there and engage with him like that. But if you're running with your submachine gun out, and a guy surprises you, then you can kill him. And if you see a guy that's too far to get him with a submachine gun, well, no harm, no foul, as long as he doesn't see you. And even if he does see you, you do still have time to switch to the assault rifle. But the downside is if you're running around with your assault rifle out all the time, well, then if a guy surprises you, you're likely to die. Because if you get too close to a guy and you have the assault rifle out, you're just going to die. And so I hear these guys fighting over here. I can hear these Spitfires and all that kind of stuff, and I am not going over there. I'm not going to peek my head around that corner and give up the only cover I have, considering they have to come to me in the circle. So now there's only a couple guys left. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. So as I'm sitting here, I can hear him over there, but I don't want to go for him yet, because if I run and rush to him, first of all, I don't have that many meds, and there's only 3 people left. And as soon as I rush him, the other guy's almost undoubtedly at the top of the hill. Yeah, that was close, huh? So even there, he still did 50 damage to me. I did 150 to him, but he still did 50 to me. So I know that guy's probably at the top of the hill up there, which is why I didn't want to go and engage that. Because if I do, then it's just an easy way to get third party. And as you see, he's already tossing stuff. Stun after stun. And then he starts throwing some other stuff, I think. Yeah, starts throwing some clusters and that kind of stuff. So I've got a good position here. Luckily, he didn't tag me with any of those, because he would have known that I was over here somewhere. So he pretty much has no idea where I am at this point, and I have no idea where he is, which is, again, why I'm sitting here. And normally I wouldn't recommend waiting this long to do something, but in this final circle, when it's just one-on-one and you don't have any idea where they are, if I hadn't waited here, he would have had two flashes and a cluster grenade. So I waited, and he burned some of his equipment, and so now it's a little bit more of a fair fight. And also, I don't want to push in until I absolutely have to, considering there's no cover on this side. As you see, there's literally nothing over here. There's a couple trees there, but, like, from here to the center, it's just nothing. So now I'm realizing, like, why do I have my SWAT out? I'm such an idiot. Get off this SWAT. And so then immediately you see that motion. Immediately I'm pushing. I don't know if that was him there at the tree. I don't know if I saw that there, but I mean, I definitely see him here right now, right there, but I didn't see him in the game until he started shooting me.
Position area is secure.
But see, that's what happened right there. He was probably using an assault rifle, and I surprised him by being that close because I was halfway through the circle. I pushed halfway up into the circle, and I probably surprised him right there. And as you see, I mean, he got me red, but he couldn't kill me once I switched. So, and this right here is when I realized I was like, oh, you know what? I just got to win with some level 3 armor. So. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a little bit different. I was just trying to do, just kind of explain some stuff as far as my reasoning for why I do stuff and how I play and how it's really. I mean, I've gotten an additional, 30% of my wins. Like I've gotten 10 wins in the last 2 weeks, which before it took me, months to get 20, 25, 30 wins. So. It's really ramped up pretty quickly, and a lot of this is just kind of the way I've been playing it and the style I've been playing it. So, anyway, thank you guys for checking this out. Catch you in the next one. I'll see you later. Have it, Quebec!